bad and indeterminate, which relate to the worlds of form and the formless. In other words, the four skandhas. Which are the states that are infinite? The paths that are the unincluded, and the fruits of the paths, and uncompounded element. Which are the states that have limited objects of thought? Those emotional, perceptual and synthetic states, as well as those of intellect applied to sense impressions, which arise in connection with limited matters. Which are the states that have enlarged objects of thought? Those emotional, perceptual and synthetic states, as well as those of intellect applied to sense impressions, which arise in connection with matters of wider scope. Which are the states that have infinite objects of thought? Those emotional, perceptual and synthetic states, as well as those of intellect applied to sense impressions, which arise in connection with matters of infinite importance. Which are the states that are base? The three roots of bad, lust, hate, dulness, the corruptions united with them. The four skandhas associated with them. The action, bodily, vocal and mental, springing from them. Which are the states that are of medium worth? Co-intoxicant states, good, bad and indeterminate, relating to the worlds of sense, form and the formless. In other words, the four skandhas. Which are the states that are perfected? The paths that are the unincluded, and the fruits of the paths, and uncompounded element. Which are the states the wrongfulness of which is fixed as to its consequences? The five acts that have immediate results, and those wrong views that are fixed in their consequences. Which are the states the righteousness of which is fixed as to its consequences? The four paths that are the unincluded. Which are the states that do not entail fixed consequences? The aforementioned states excepted, all other states, good, bad and indeterminate, relating to the worlds of sense, form and the formless, or to the life that is unincluded. In other words, the four skandhas. All form, moreover, and uncompounded element. Which are the states that have the path as their object of thought? Those emotional, perceptual and synthetic states, as well as those of intellect applied to sense impressions, which arise in connection with the noble path. Which are the states that are causally dependent upon the path? Firstly, the four skandhas when associated with the stages of the path as experienced by one who is conversant with the path. Secondly, the four skandhas when associated with the right views, these being both path and cause, of one who is conversant with the path. Thirdly, the four skandhas when associated with the states of freedom from lust, hate and dulness peculiar to one who is conversant with the path. Now, these last-named states are the path causes. The former are those states which are causally dependent upon the path. Which are the causes that are path-governed? Firstly, those emotional, perceptual and synthetic states, as well as those of intellect applied to sense impressions, which in arising make the noble path the governor. Secondly, the four skandhas when associated with the investigation carried on by one who is conversant with the path, and who is cultivating a way wherein investigation is the dominant factor. Which are the states that have arisen? Those states that have been born, have become, have been gotten, created, recreated, made manifest, that have arisen, have come to pass, have happened, have supervened, have been caused to arise, are classed together among the things that have arisen, to wit, form, feeling, perception, syntheses, intellect. Which are the states that have not arisen? Those states that are unborn, have not become, have not been gotten, nor created, nor recreated, nor made manifest. that have not arisen nor come to pass. Nor happened, nor supervened. That have not been caused to arise. That are classed together among the things that have not arisen, to wit, forms, feelings, perceptions, syntheses, intellect. Which are the states that are bound to arise. The results of those good and bad states related to the worlds of sense, form and the formless, or to the life that is unincluded, the consequences of which are not yet matured, to wit, the four skandhas and that form due to karma having been wrought which will arise. Which are the states that are past. Those states that are past are extinct, dissolved, changed, terminated, exterminated. Are past and classed among the things that are past. In other words, the five skandhas. Which are the states that are future. The states that are unborn. That have not become, not been gotten, nor created, nor recreated, nor made manifest. That have not arisen, nor come to pass, nor happened, nor supervened. That have not arrived, and are classed among the things that have not arrived. Which are the things that are present. Those states that have been born, have become, have been gotten, created, recreated, made manifest. That have arisen, have come to pass, have supervened, have been caused to arise. That have arisen over against and are classed among the things that have so arisen. Which are the states that have the past, future, present as their object of thought. Those emotional, perceptual and synthetic states, as well as those of intellect applied to sense impressions, which arise in connection with states that are past, future, present. Which are the states that are personal. Those states which, for this or that being, are of the self, self-referable, one's own, individual, the issue of grasping. In other words, the five skandhas. Which are the states that are external. Those states which, for this or that other being, for other individuals, are of the self, self-referable, their own, individual, the issue of grasping, in other words, the five skandhas. Which are the states that are personal external. States which are both personal and external. Which are the states that have an object of thought concerning the self. Concerning that which is external to the self. Concerning that which is personal external. Those emotional, perceptual, synthetic states, as well as those of intellect applied to sense impressions, which arise in connection with states of the self. States that are external. States that are personal external. Which are the states that are both visible and impinging. The sphere of visible form. Which are the states that are invisible, but impinging. The spheres of the and YQ senses and the spheres of sound, odor, taste and the tangible. Which are the states that are both invisible and non-impinging. The four skandhas. That form, moreover, which, being invisible and non-impinging, is yet included in the sphere of mental states. Also uncompounded element. End of the triplets. Footnotes. Or rejection. According to the psi. The various classes into which the states of the moral consciousness were distinguished are now to be set forth by a method which, in its greater conciseness, is a rejection or discarding of the relatively more detailed exposition of Book 1. Any intelligent person can recognize, for instance, that in the concise terms in which the answer to question is couched, the answer to question, among others, is involved. Relatively to the following Atakartha, on the other hand, this method is in its turn less concise, more detailed. By root is meant cause, condition, bringing to pass, generating, originating, producing. And, since there is no such thing as good detached from a root, all good is hereby included. ASL. Manikarman, inadvertently omitted in the printed text. Cf. and Passam. Tad ekata ca kalesa. Ekatam is defined as located in one and the same thought by virtue of a common origin, or in one and the same person, by virtue of a common exclusion, to wit here, of corrupt or faulty states. On kalesa, see a secu. Apariapana. See below, also. To save much repetition throughout this division, these 4 skandhas are henceforward referred to as the 4 skandhas. Dharma Kariya. Cf. A secu. In the printed text Sankata should be a Sankata. The skandha of feeling is in this case the predominating factor, and not reckoned as merely an associate, or subordinate adjunct in consciousness. Sukha Bhumiyam. I have kept to the more literal rendering of Bhumi here, in preference to some such term as stage, or source, because of the analogy drawn by the Sai. Just as by saying, this is a sugar soil, or a rice land, we mean localities where these products thrive, so by Sukha Bhumi, etc. we mean a thought, which is the place for the uprising of ease. K. invariably places a colon before that enumeration of 4 or more skandhas, which is part of the usual procedure in these triplets. There is nothing explicit in the Sai. To justify my interpretation by the parenthesis, in other words of the somewhat amorphous construction of the answers thus punctuated. But I gather from its remarks that, in these concentrated replies, the skandha list represents the preceding half of the answer, in which it occurs, under another aspect, viz. Rasathena, or that of groups in consciousness. This is really the method followed in detail throughout Book 1. But here in mere outline. First a reply in terms of Dham Ma, then the summary, which is mainly, at least, in terms of skandha. Cf. E. G. A. Also ASL. Vipakadharma Dharma, paraphrased by Vipaka Sabhava Dharma, states having a result nature, or quality of result. See above. P. See a secu. Sasava. See a secu. CP. Note. The term apariapana, when applied to Dharma and used in an ethico-psychological sense, is described as here in terms of path, fruit and uncompounded element. C. Its positive correlate is paraphrased, in ASL. By, contained in the threefold cycle of existence. I do not know whether apariapanam with this lofty significance occurs in either of the older Pitakas. But it appears in K. Y. Where it is declared a heresy to hold that any mere speculative opinion was of the unincluded, and where the content of the latter concept is more amply set forth than in our manual. Read ca after Magafalani. The commentator vindicates the status of the Arahat, here alluded to, as being free from all grasping, as follows. Although the skandhas of the Arahat may become a cause of grasping to those who say, our mother's brother, the Thera. Our father's brother, the Thera. Yet there is no grasping, no infection, attaching to the paths, the fruits and nirvana. For just as there is no inducement to mosquitoes to alight on a ball of iron which has been heated all day, so these things, by their excessive glory, do not attract the grasp of craving, pride or false opinion. Or corrupting. See a secu. Beginning with the skandha of material form. C. Part of the formula for the first jhana. The world, universe, or heaven of the formless is omitted, being a soil, where these mental processes could not grow. C. They would else come under the skandha of syntheses. C. and P. N. Read Tan before Sampayuto. C. A phrase borrowed from the system of fivefold jhana. C. A Sakyu. Joy is not counted as a mode of feeling, but as a synthesis. Ease, however, and disinterestedness, being two of the three modes of feeling, this skandha ceases to be merely an associated state. Dasanam, lit. Seeing or vision, in view of what can and cannot be put away by insight. It must be remembered that the term is here used in the technical sense it possesses for Buddhist ethics, and means the mental awakening, or intellectual conversion, by which one became a Sotapatti and entered the first path, and no more. ASL. It was the vehicle for breaking the three fetters named here, and numbered as fourth, fifth and th in the list of 10 named later. It represented a certain vantage point for mind and heart, from which the promised land of nirvana was caught sight of, and the fact of impermanence first discerned, as well as the futility of substantialist theories, and the impotence of a religion of rules and works. Confidence in the new methods sprang up with the wider vision. Dasanam was powerless to remove the cosmic processes of life and mind. The collocations of phenomena, the evolution of karma, the infinite mystery of the extrasensuous. On various ways of attaining this insight, see the interesting Kimsuka Sutta, S. IV. Relatively to the higher standpoints to be gained, it might rather, says Buddhaghosa, be called no vision. For even as a man, bound on some mission to a king, if he saw the latter pass afar off on his elephant, would say, if questioned, that he had not seen him, he not having accomplished his mission, so the convert, though he have caught his first glimpse of nirvana, yet because of all he has to do in the getting rid of evil, is said to have no vision. His knowledge consists in a contemplation of the path. On the fetters, see a Sakyu. Sakaya Ditti, embodying one of the most dangerous of all delusions from the Buddhist point of view, is by the Sai. Connected with Ko, the phenomenal compound of 5 skandhas, and either with Sat, in the sense of being, or with say Am, one's own. Cf. S. N. Verses. Dhp. Verse. The latter explanation, Svakaya, is probably correct. Individuality, then, stands for this skandha complex, which we should now speak of as body and soul. Both term and theory are discussed by Dharmadina in Mi. A Sakyu, the fourth upadana, or grasping after a.